Hi there. In this tip I'm going to be looking at guitars, and specifically I want to show you how to create depth and thicken your tracks, as well as show you how to widen your stereo image. So to start with, I'll show you what I have going on here. I have a drum backing track along with a single guitar track. Okay, so I want to be able to thicken this sound. Now, there's a number of different ways you can do this, but a common method that's used for guitars is to double track them. So if I bring in another track, guitar 2, make active. Now these are two distinct performances. This isn't the same track doubled, this is important. These are two distinct performances. Okay, so as you can hear, those subtle differences in timing and performance definitely help thicken the sound, but we're not really widening the stereo image. So this is where panning comes in. So if I take guitar 1 and pan this hard left, and guitar 2 pan this hard right, let's see how that affects the sound. Okay, so that's definitely widened the stereo image. That means guitar 1 is coming out of the left speaker and guitar 2 is coming out of the right speaker. Now you can really go to town with this. You can triple track, quadruple track, 5 times, 6 times. The more tracks you add, the thicker the sound will be. And this is a technique that's used commonly in certain genres of music, such as metal. Now in this case, I simply recorded the same guitar twice. Same guitar, same amp, same microphone. All the tones are the same. Now you can get greater depth as well if you record the same part with different tones, perhaps different amps, different guitars. The one problem you might come across is by adding many parts, you can muddy up the sound a little bit too much, and you have to get creative with EQ and panning to make everything sit well. Now there's another technique we can use, which is called the Haas delay trick. And this is really what this video is all about. So the Haas Effect is a psychoacoustic effect. Described by Helmut Haas, it explains how our ears are able to localize sound from wherever they are around us. Now the way this works really comes down to timing. Which ear receives the sound first? And that timing difference, which ranges from about 1 millisecond to around 40 milliseconds, gives us the perception of where that sound is in relation to us. Now we can use this effect to our advantage when it comes to mixing to widen the stereo image of our tracks. I'm going to show you how to do this now. Now what's fantastically cool about this is we can actually apply this to mono sources. So I'm going to start with guitar 1. I'm going to hide and make an active guitar 2. So first of all, with guitar 1, pan that back to center. What I'm going to do is duplicate the entire track. So I'm just right click, duplicate. Okay, so now I have a duplicate of the entire track. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pan the first track again, hard left, and the duplicate, hard right. So we have the same coming out of both speakers. Now the effect is created when I delay the second track by between 10 milliseconds and about 40 milliseconds. So let's put our nudge value into minutes and seconds and set this to 10 milliseconds. So let's nudge this using plus and minus on the keyboard and nudge it 20 milliseconds. Let's see how that sounds. Let's try another 10 milliseconds. Let's make it 30. And you see that's widening the stereo image. Now I could thicken up the sound further by bringing back the other track, guitar 2. And because the first track, the original track, guitar 1 was panned hard left, I will pan this one hard right, and then right click and duplicate this track as well, and do the same thing, the Haas trick again, pan this one opposite to the original guitar 2 track, and we'll delay this 30 milliseconds as well. And there you go, you can hear the effect much more pronounced. Now I would suggest you really experiment with different timings. A difference of 1 millisecond can actually make a huge difference between 19 milliseconds and 20 milliseconds, for example. So really experiment and play around with it. So I've shown you how to create this effect by duplicating tracks and nudging the timings. We can actually achieve this through plugins as well. We can use the stock Pro Tools delay plugin to achieve exactly the same effect. So let me show you how to do that. So first of all, let's get rid of our duplicates. Delete. So we're left with our 2 original tracks. I'm going to mute the second one for the moment, and I'm going to pan it back center, the first one. So what we need is a stereo delay plugin. So if I go to plugin delay, we'll go to mod delay 3. Make sure you pick the stereo one. You know you have when you start to see 2 channels in the mono track. So let's turn off the sync. So what we're going to do is we're going to have no delay on the left side. And then on the right side, let's set this to about 30 to start with. Play that back. And there's the effect. Let's just change this back to 10, see if we notice a difference. And you may have noticed I was actually changing the right side delay as I was playing it back so I could hear the differences. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other track and just reverse the procedure. So I'll copy this down and we'll look at the mod delay 3 on this one. So on this side, I want to delay this one by 40 milliseconds and no delay on the right side. Play this back together. Let's reduce the amount, it's a little too much at the moment. 30 milliseconds on that side, and around 30 on this side. Just one further thing, just remember on the delay time, no longer than 40 milliseconds. Any longer than that, then the second sound will be perceived more as an echo of the original sound. So for the effect to really work, no more than 40 milliseconds on that delay. Okay, that's it for now. Feel free to check out more of my tips at pyramide.com/training.
When I first came to Pyramind, I had searched the forums and I had searched online, I had read magazines, I had talked with people, but it wasn't enough. What I needed to do was I needed to watch someone mix, start from scratch, and make their way up to a professional project.
I take them through all the steps and break it down, piece by piece. I want them to understand how sound interacts in the environment, number one. Number two, I want them to understand how instruments behave in a room, how to capture those instruments. Here's a microphone. What does a microphone go to? Here it is in a real-world environment. Now let's go back to the classroom and dissect that.
After a certain amount of time within the core program, you have access to the studios, right? And you have access to the microphones. And you have access to just bring in whoever you want and record. The first 2 Tumbleweed Wanderers EPs, they were both completely tracked here.
I brought my band in, we set up drums, did overdubs, had other Pyramind students on board as engineers, and we had a really, really good time tracking those songs.
There's a lot of hands-on experience. You get to see bands get recorded, you get to be involved with setting up the mics, the miking techniques, the compressors, how everything in a studio flows. It's good to have that knowledge and the hands-on experience with the professionals that have done that kind of work.
There's no shortage to what you can do. It's a supportive environment that says, here is a space where you can be creative and mess up, and not only will we not judge you for messing up, we'll applaud you in those efforts.